Good morning and welcome to Ask the Expert. I'm Joe Taylor. This morning, another in the ongoing series of programs presented by the Northwest Regional Key Program for Quality Early Learning. The program, through the Northwest Institute of Research, oversees a grant from the Office of Child Development and Early Learning at the Pennsylvania Department of Human Services and the Department of Education. The goal of the program is to improve the outcomes for young children as they prepare for school. John Poza from the Pennsylvania Key is the host of the program and is with us throughout the series. And John, I understand this morning we have someone on the phone from down south.
Yes. Well, actually, Pottstown, Joe.
Okay.
Good morning. We have Mary Rieck. Mary is the coordinator of the Pottstown Early Action for Kindergarten Readiness initiative. They call that PEAK for short. It's in the Pottstown School District in Montgomery County in Pennsylvania. PEAK's work is having a significant impact in bringing together many, many different stakeholders to focus on early learning, and it's actually gaining widespread interest and acceptance throughout Pennsylvania. In addition to Mary's work at the local level, she has served on the Pennsylvania Pre-K Counts Advisory Group, Pennsylvania's Early Learning Network Advisory Committee, and the Strengthening Families Leadership Team. Welcome to the program, Mary.
Okay, thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. And the first thing I wanted to ask you is about PEAK itself. How did actually this Kindergarten Readiness initiative come to be, and how it's had such widespread acceptance?
Well, Pottstown School District is a small urban school district. We are in southeastern Pennsylvania. We're on the western part of Montgomery County, and we're a small school district. We're just 5 miles square. And about 11 years ago, some of our senior leadership in the district wanted to see what they could do to start working together with community early learning programs to try to improve the readiness of children entering kindergarten. What they were seeing at that time is they had a lot of children coming into kindergarten who were not ready and were not doing well in kindergarten. And we know what that means. If you're not doing well in kindergarten, you're not going to do well on the third grade test scores and on down the line. So Jeff Sparagana at that time was our Director of Education and Human Resources. He had been kind of talking with some of our community child care and Head Start programs. And then the state made available a planning grant called the Pre-K Counts Public-Private Partnership Grant. And they quickly came together and applied for the planning grant. And then they spent a year working with a consultant trying to figure out how could we really partner together here in Pottstown to make a difference for our children and families. At that time, the school district really wasn't doing a whole lot. How does a school district partner with the community-based programs? How do community-based programs see each other as partners rather than competitors? And so out of that year of planning came the framework for the PEAK initiative. From there, they applied for an implementation grant, and I was hired, and we started moving forward. Since then, we have received many different grant funding sources, and we were very happy when Pre-K Counts, the state-funded program, became available, that we already had a partnership in place, and we applied for that too. So we have been working with community-based programs here in Pottstown for over 11 years. We estimate that we have invested through various grant funding sources almost $14 million in our community through our work through the PEAK initiative.
That's fantastic, and I've heard about the success of your program, and I think you've also had some interest. Obviously, the fact that we're doing this program, and we're based in Du Bois, but there's been some interest from others that have sort of been following your work. What kind of outreach have you done, or assistance maybe that you've provided to other organizations working in early learning, say in other parts of the state? Do you act as a consultant, or do you provide any assistance to those groups?
We are always happy to go out and talk to anyone about what we've done and how we got started, and just, the way that we work in partnership. And we're always happy to have anyone to come here and to visit and to talk to us more about what we've done and talk to our partners and see what effect we're having here in Pottstown.
Obviously, the public-private partnership is a big sell, especially, with business people in communities, because I mean, there are many folks that still like to do things in that partnership where maybe it's not going to involve as much taxpayer dollars. And so I'm assuming that the businesses in the Pottstown area have also been big supporters of the work.
They are. We do not have, as a part of the Pottstown is an at-risk community, and many of the big businesses left Pottstown years ago, and so we have worked, and we do work with our Chamber of Commerce, but it's always been, and the businesses are aware and help support and get out information, but building those partnerships with the business has always been a challenge, and that's something that we still work on.
I'd like to ask a kind of a broader question, looking beyond Pottstown and to the state in general. Obviously, one of the goals of the different organizations devoted to early childhood learning is to increase the awareness among various constituencies, including government, the private sector, and the general population of the state of its importance. How do you feel over the past 10 years or so that progress has been made? Has there been real progress? And if so, not only what is your gut feeling, but are there any metrics to support that in Pottstown and in the state in general?
I think for people who have been working in the early education field here in Pennsylvania, and we had just returned to Pennsylvania 11 years ago when I started working in Pottstown. But it's been a very exciting time in Pennsylvania. We know we've gone from the beginning of our quality rating system to everyone in early childhood really worked hard to get Pennsylvania pre-K counts passed and start getting that in place. And for those of us who were grantees at the beginning, we were developing things as we went along. And so we've worked hard to make a strong foundation in Pennsylvania. And, we continue to move forward with, we've been fortunate the last 2 years to have increases in pre-K counts funding. I think we've had very good leadership at the Office of Child Development and Early Learning, really some visionary leadership who are trying to bring all the different pieces of early education together because it can be a very confusing system. For us in Pottstown, we are seeing a significant difference in our children, especially the children who participate in pre-K counts in their readiness on entering kindergarten. I have followed one group of children up to 4th grade, and each year the pre-K counts children were scoring above the district average on their beginning of year assessment. So we do see that it is making a difference in the kids, but also the other important aspect of our community work is all of our wonderful community partnerships that we have built over the years in Pottstown. And the other thing is that we've always worked with families, but the last several years through our partnership with the W.K. Kellogg Foundation and our State Community Innovation Zone grant, we've really done a lot more community and family outreach, building those partnerships and connecting with families. We don't need to wait till a child walks into kindergarten to start building a relationship with that family. We need to be connecting with them and supporting them much earlier than that.
That's absolutely right. And I think it's just wonderful, too, when you have the participation, especially since your work is based at your school district, and having the active involvement of the school district with the community as well as with the preschool and local child care providers makes a big impact in terms of that transitional process for when children are getting ready to go to kindergarten. I wanted to switch gears a little bit because I know as part of your work, you have a special program that you're working with children that has had some success for children that have been impacted by trauma in their lives. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Over the past 2 years, just as we're always looking at what we're doing here in Pottstown and how can we do things better or what new strategies do we need to start looking at? We started looking at the idea of adverse childhood experiences because we are an at-risk community, and we know many of our families and our children have experienced adverse childhood experiences. And so we brought together a steering committee about 2 years ago, and it included our mental health providers, school district representatives, our homeless shelter, our food bank, our police department, and just other partners in the community to start talking about what really are adverse childhood experiences and how do we respond to children and families who have been impacted by adverse childhood experiences and trauma. And so over the past 2 years, our steering committee worked on really what do we want to do. We went through a theory of change process, and then we did a logic model to really decide what is this big idea and what can we do in Pottstown. So this summer we launched this effort. We called it Pottstown Trauma Informed Community Connection to our bigger group, Pottstown community, and we had over 100 people attend a community partner meeting. And so the idea was that this idea resonated with a lot of people here in the community. We had also had Dr. Sandra Bloom come about 2 years ago and talk to a community meeting we hosted, and we had Dr. Roy Wade Jr., who both have done a lot of work in the area of ACEs and trauma, had also come to Pottstown and talked to our community meeting. So we are launching this idea out to the Pottstown community. We've also been doing what we call Trauma 101 trainings. It's a 2-hour introduction to the idea of adverse experiences and trauma. How does that impact the brain? What does it mean for families and children that you're working with? Last year, we trained all of our Pottstown School District teaching staff from pre-K through 12th grade on the Trauma 101. This year, we're doing 3 trainings. We trained all of our support staff. We're training lots of our community partners. We anticipate having a training for our entire police department and support staff. So first of all, it's making people more aware of the issue. There are different stages to your trauma work, and one is just to increase the awareness that there is such a thing as adverse experiences. And while we always knew that they could have a significant effect on maybe social or emotional growth, what the studies have found out is that they also impact your physical health. Because children who have had adverse childhood experiences, they're at greater risk when they are as adults of heart disease or diabetes or addiction problems. So it's really exciting work here in Pottstown, and it's really connecting with the community. So right now we're doing trainings, we're holding meetings we're developing a messaging campaign to make the community more aware of what is adverse childhood experiences, what are the resources, and how we can deal with that. Our other big one of the other big outcomes of this work is one of the ways that you can help children deal with adverse experiences is through developing their social emotional learning skills.
Right.
So we are going to be launching a comprehensive social emotional learning program, which will go from pre-K through 12th grade. So in Pottstown, in another year, this year we're rolling out to 64 classrooms, and we'll do full implementation next year. That a child coming into the school district in pre-K, every year they will be learning how do I deal with social emotional learning and learning skills to help them to relate, build relationships, and connect with other people. So we're excited about our social emotional learning work, and we're really excited about the work that's happening in the community around trauma. We do have a website for more information just related to our trauma-informed work, and that is pottstownmatters.org.
Oh, that's fantastic. And a lot of this work that you're doing in Pottstown, I'm sure that other communities throughout the state can relate to, maybe communities with similar demographics, similar issues. And so it's great that they can utilize the work there as a resource. I wanted to ask you, you mentioned about the fact that you were the recipient of a Community Innovation Zone grant, which is a project I'm near and dear to because I work with grantees in the northwestern part of the state. Can you tell us a little bit about what your CIZ project entails in Pottstown?
All right. In our Community Innovation Zone grant closely aligns with a 3-year grant that we have from the W.K. Kellogg Foundation, and so they're both supporting many of the same priorities. The first priority of our Community Innovation Zone grant was just our family outreach and connection, and especially to our hard-to-reach families.
Right.
And our Innovation Zone grant helps to support our outreach to our Spanish-speaking population. So the Innovation Zone grant combined with the W.K. Kellogg Foundation grant allows us to have a full-time person to focus on the needs and connect with the Spanish-speaking population. And she's been doing parenting education, helping with translation, supporting families in school district meetings, and just really building those relationships in the community. And the other big area of our Innovation Zone work is this work around trauma and trauma-informed community, which also aligns with several of our grants. We're partnering with the Scattergood Behavioral Health Foundation for as consultants for guiding us forward on our trauma work. And so the Innovation Zone work is supporting some of the professional development, some of our partnership with Scattergood to become a trauma-informed community, and just some of the other trainings that we're doing relating to our trauma and adverse childhood experience work.
Mary, if I can, I'd like to refer back to your work at the state level with the Pre-K Counts Advisory Group, the Pennsylvania Early Learning Network Advisory Committee. And I've been interested in finding this out, and I haven't asked this until now. How are the standards established for what would be described as a quality early childhood education program in Pennsylvania? How are these standards developed, and how often are they reviewed or upgraded?
Pennsylvania, and prior to this, I may have been in this position in Pottstown. I had also worked for state government in Georgia with the Georgia Pre-K program. Pennsylvania very much believes in getting stakeholder input on everything that they're doing. So there are many different advisory groups at the state level because the state leadership wants to hear from the local communities and how are the policies that they're developing impacting the communities. As far as standards for early learning programs, there are national standards based on research about the classroom. There's different assessment methods you can use, teacher qualifications. And I think what Pennsylvania has done is look at a lot of the research and the work that's been done nationally of what really makes a difference in for a child to be successful, what type of early learning experience, what do you need to have in that classroom, how does a teacher interact with the children. And as they've looked at those standards, they've also brought in the community stakeholders and talked to them about what did they see and had their input. So I would say Pennsylvania very much believes in working in partnership with the local community as they are trying to improve their work at the state level and move things forward.
Obviously, there's many, many changes taking place in Pennsylvania right now in quality early learning, all for the better. Obviously, our funding is on an upswing, and we've been able to enhance many of our quality programs. Where do you see the future? What in your mind is one of the most exciting things that's taking place now and in working towards the future to improve our system?
I would say probably one of the most exciting things that has been the funding of the Pennsylvania Pre-K Counts program. That we have the free pre-K program, and that it's been able to slowly grow in the past 2 years. That they've started investing more money. So I think that is the thing that families really think about when they think about the quality early learning. That that they're so grateful to be able to have a program to send their child to, because what we see is many families may not qualify for Head Start, but they cannot afford to pay for a preschool experience for their children. So I will hope that Pennsylvania's pre-K count continues to grow. You know, right now it is still targeted somewhat with the income guidelines for Help Sunday and the universal for any 3 and 4-year-old children in Pennsylvania. But I would say that would be the thing. I hope that continues to grow. And then I would just say at the state level for people to continue to connect with their community programs, is how are the policies and what are the needs that the community-based programs are seeing, and how can the state level work with them.
The other thing too is that we've seen that's exciting. I know there are also lists, families that are on waiting lists that would qualify for the Ccis subsidy for child care, so that parents are able to work and have their child care at least provided for, partially provided for. That has been enhanced as well with additional funding. But even for those families who maybe are just above the income guidelines, who still struggle with the cost of child care, I always say that, there are employers out there, your own employer, or there's other means where there are scholarships that are set up that can help, because it really does impact the ability for the parent to work and not be so concerned about how their child is, or how their child is being taken care of while they are at work. So I'm sure that you have some experience also in your community with those types of families.
And yes, and it's an economic issue, because they want to support our working families, and we want to help them get in the job market and start moving up the ladder to help them stabilize the family, support them. I know at one time in Montgomery County we had there'd be hundreds and hundreds of families waiting for child care subsidy, and of course you can't work, you don't have child care, but you can't afford child care, you don't have subsidy. And so we would have families waiting, trying to work, but they couldn't afford child care. But many of our child care programs would provide scholarships, so they would not get subsidy. So the subsidy is really important, because we want to support families who want to get back to the job market, get them started. That will help support all of our state markets.
Yeah, it definitely is an economic issue, and the more that the community realizes that the two both go hand in hand, the more that we will bring the importance of quality early learning to the forefront. I'll tell you, we're in the last minute of our program, Mary. I wanted to thank you so much for being on the program, but if we can close, just tell me about what your hopes and dreams are in the future for Peak.
Well, we're hoping to keep moving forward. We have a few ideas, with the Peak Consortium for what we're doing, and just really see how we support our have lots of.
Well, thank you so much, Mary. I appreciate you being on the program, and good luck to you in your work.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
And that's our program for today. We'll be back in 2 weeks at the same time. In the meantime,